Welcome to the Craft to Career podcast with Elizabeth Chappell, where every week we dive into how you can turn your craft into a successful career. Get ready to have the career you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to the Craft to Career podcast. This is Elizabeth Chappell of Quilters Candy. I'm very, very excited about this week's episode. It is completely unique, and I feel like I'm not going to have the opportunity to introduce something like this much in my lifetime. There is a brand new platform that I think could very much revolutionize businesses for quilters. And that's why I say I don't think this is going to happen often, because I don't feel like that's going to happen very often. So, okay, before we dive in, however, I want to read this review because so much about it that I love. So let me read it and then thank Pitchfork Quilt Pieces for writing this. So Pitchfork Quilt Pieces says, I love Elizabeth, from having a voice for radio to her fantastic mind, fabulous questions, and amazing guests. I love her personal episodes where she talks on a topic. I love when she features a guest from within the industry, and I love when she invites a marketing guest onto her show. I gain so much insight. There's never a dull moment. My favorite, though, is episode 41. Which, side note, I need to now go myself and look what episode that is. By the way, this review took me about an hour to write because of so much hassle with understanding Apple Music and iTunes, but I'll do anything to help Elizabeth. Thanks, Elizabeth. Wishing you the most success. Oh my goodness, Pitchfork Quilt Pieces. This is possibly one of the sweetest reviews because I know how much time and effort went into this review. And you know how much this means to the podcast. So thank you so much. And it's funny reading this review because I guess I'm a typical female and I feel weird not only receiving compliments, but then reading one out loud. I had no idea that people thought I have a voice for radio. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but that was one of the things that I was like, I want to have a podcast. I love asking questions and all the things, but like, really, I don't know if my voice will be enjoyable to listen to. So that means a lot. And just how much you are getting out of the podcast and how much time you spent writing this review. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you have not had a chance to go and write a review, hopefully it doesn't take you an hour to do that. I do wish that Apple was a little more intuitive, but please do if you haven't left a review yet. So this week, the platform that I'm introducing on the podcast is called Whatnot. And I've been talking to Carly, and I honestly cannot remember the title that she has at the company. I think I said last week in the podcast that she's the owner. She's not the owner, but she helps. I'll let her explain in her own words because I'm going to get it wrong. But I've told Carly this next little bit of information, so I feel like it's fine for me to share it here. I have a friend, Belle of Seems So Me, who went and sold some things on Whatnot. And I heard through the grapevine, I didn't even hear from her. I heard from other friends who were like, hey, Belle went on this platform and sold so many things. It was very successful. It's called Whatnot. Have you guys checked it out? And I was like, no, what is that? So I went and looked and saw it. And then Whatnot reached out and asked, hey, would you like to meet? And honestly, had Belle not gone on it and had I not heard through the grapevine, I would have said no. Because it's a startup company, for one thing. There's something about social proof, right? Like having a friend who can vouch for it. So thank you, Belle, for unknowingly vouching for it through the grapevine. But how would you know? So it's a younger company. And they're just, recently-ish reaching out into the quilting community. And it's very different from anything I've ever done. And like branding, their branding is obviously not my branding. So I was like, I don't know. But because I heard of the success, I was like, I'm actually very intrigued. And because I teach a whole course on how to write and sell quilt patterns. And here is a brand new platform that could be really amazing for people to sell their patterns. So I hopped on a call with Carly, and as we were talking and my mind started getting very excited about, oh my goodness, this could actually be very revolutionary for our industry, particularly shop owners, whether you're selling fabrics, notions, or patterns, this is a game changer. You just don't see that often. And I don't think a lot of people know about it yet, or you might be kind of hesitant because it is new and you may not have heard of it. And you might be like, what? What is this? So that's why when we were chatting, I was like, Carly, can we do a podcast episode? I need to share about this with my audience. And can I go on your show and sell something so that I can experience it and speak to what that is like? So coming up in a couple of weeks, I believe June 7th, I'm still working out the date. I'm going to be going live either June 5th, 6th, or 7th in the evening. There's an event that they're hosting, and I will be going on and sharing some products along with Liza Taylor. So we are going to be going on and selling. And I just want to experience it, see what it's like, so that I can actually go to my students and say, okay, here's a cool idea, and I've tried it out, and either it worked or it didn't. So I'm very hopeful that it's going to be amazing when I go on there, because I know it's been amazing for other people. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let me introduce you to Carly, and let's dive in so you can learn about this new platform, and hopefully you can find it as amazing as I do. So excited to have you here, Carly. Thanks for being on the podcast. Can you introduce who you are and what you do for Whatnot?
Of course. It's so nice to be here. I really appreciate you having me and having Whatnot on the podcast. So I am the general manager of the arts and handmade world over at Whatnot. So leading the charge, expanding our platform into the crafty community, and helping people expand the crafty careers that they're building onto our platform.
I love it. So for our listeners, can you tell us, let's assume no prior knowledge. What is Whatnot, the history of it? How has it come to be? What does it do?
Of course. So we're about, I think at this point, about 3.5 years old. And so we started right before the pandemic. And we initially started actually in the collectible space, and live video shopping was not a part of the platform. Right now, now we are the largest and fastest growing live stream shopping marketplace in North America. So come a long way from being a marketplace we initially started with Funko Pops, actually, those dolls with the big heads that are highly collectible. And we've, discovered sort of early in the pandemic that video was going to be a huge part of how people were going to engage going forward. And so once we launched that, it kind of exploded. And I sort of think of it like Twitch meets Etsy, but there's a lot of different, analogies that you can use. It's live stream. Live stream is the primary mechanism by which sellers are interacting with customers, and it's a marketplace. So sellers can truly be, a store in New York City, or a content creator on YouTube, or a person who is streaming and selling items from their basement. And what's really cool about that is we started in collectibles, and we found that live stream shopping has really taken off in niche, highly engaged communities that are passionate about a topic or a product. And so when I started, my goal was to figure out how do we enter the arts and handmade world. And so I looked for sort of where was the community in the arts and handmade world that was most like that. And I think you probably know that quilters and sewers are very much meet that profile.
Yes. I'm curious. Well, this is making me so happy because I talk to my audience a lot about finding a niche, and a lot of people in my audience are quilters, and this is that amazing niche. So I'm curious to hear, what are some other niches, like knitting? I want to say crochet. Those are
that's another one for sure. We have a lot of content around knitting and crochet, and that's within the arts and handmade. Outside of arts and handmade, we have a really passionate, there's so many different communities that exist within one platform. And that's what one thing that's really cool is you enter the platform and it says, what are you interested in? And based on what you select, when you open the app, you're going to see something entirely different from what everyone else is seeing. So if you like sports cards, you're going to see people selling sports cards, and that is going to be the content that you most engage with, the things that you buy. If you like vintage decor, you're going to see I selected vintage decor as one of the things I like, and it's Pyrex collectors and swing vases and all sorts of things that you might not even know about unless you're in that community. Sneaker collectors are another one. And then within the arts and handmade world, we've really been focusing, at least in the initial months, on building up our community around fabric and patterns and quilts.
This is so odd and off topic, so I'll say it and then we'll get back. But the entrepreneurial part of my brain is very intrigued and could go down a major rabbit hole of wanting to know all these different niche markets. Like, I bet there's Pokemon, but that I can come up with. So I would love to know all the markets. But yeah. Anyhow, so that's the nerdy part of me that's like, tell me all the niches. I want to know why.
I totally get that. When I started, I feel like every time I open the app, I feel like an anthropologist. Like, I just love to go in and see what the different communities are doing. And even if it's not, the community I'm working on or the community I, associate with as a buyer, it's just so fascinating to see how deeply engaged these communities can be.
And I guess I'm intrigued. Yeah. More like sociology, what are people interested in? But also, I guess from a marketing standpoint, like, I just found Taylor Swift, Harry Potter, these fan bases, how are they marketing? Why? Like, why are people loving these Pyrex? That blew my mind. I didn't know that was a thing. So it's from a marketing standpoint, I'm like, how have they done that? How have they created these pockets of people? I love it. I find it fascinating. So, okay, back to Whatnot. Thanks for, letting me go off on a tangent there. This is perfect for my audience because a lot of people who are quilterpreneurs, they're trying to figure out how to market their thing. Like, one of the biggest questions I have is, how do I launch? How do I get more sales? And then this fell in my lap, and it's like this amazing platform where people can sell from anywhere. And so how do you choose who you're going to feature?
So I think there's sort of two parts to that question, like who can sell on Whatnot, and then how do we, who do we highlight within the app? So in terms of selling, we have an application. I think we call it a rigorous vetting process, and it is because we do want to be bringing our audience the highest quality content and items that they can sell. But I think in the arts and handmade world, like, who am I to say whether or not your art is any good? It's very subjective. And so we look for people that are serious about it, and will bring, something high quality to our audience, whether it's from a content perspective or from, are they instructing something? We have a lot of quilt instructors and pattern designers, and everyone's bringing something really unique. And that actually is one of the things that kind of sets the arts and handmade world apart, is that, it's not a collectible where everyone knows the value of everything that exists. Now, fabric, of course, I know there's like that old joke that, there's two hobbies in quilting, fabric collecting and quilting. So definitely, there's part of it is that, but we look for people that have, access to inventory or, and I think inventory is kind of a funny word here, because if you're a pattern designer, of course you have unlimited access to inventory of your digital pattern. And so, you might only have made one pattern, but like, you still have unlimited access, and, that counts too. And then in other categories, we have looked for people that have social presences, just like, are they serious about, getting out there? But that doesn't mean that you have to have a large audience in order to sell on our platform. In fact, our favorite and best sellers are ones who have really built their audience within Whatnot.
Really?
And I see a world where, like any new platform, it can take a little time to kind of get noticed, get in the community. But the really cool thing is we have all these built-in features. So giveaways. There's a feature where if you offer a giveaway in your stream, people have to follow you in order to enter. And so that's how a lot of people have, built up their initial following. Once you have followers, people will get notified every time you go live. And people also form kind of this community of, like, a very supportive community of, like, knowing when your friends are live, and a lot of the sellers are, going in to support each other. We have a feature called rating, where people, if a if a new seller is looking to get, help build their audience and they happen to know someone or maybe they're a buyer from an older seller who already has a large audience. You see this all the time. People do like a pop-up and raid show. So someone who has 5,000 followers may pop up and do a 15-minute show and then raid a new seller. So that new seller is kind of starting right off the bat with a built-in audience, because one of their favorite sellers is supporting them. And you see this a lot in all the categories of people just really wanting to support each other in a way that's not like it's obviously like they're competing, but I think especially in the handmade world, everyone has different things. No two people are selling the same handmade items. And even when we talk about fabric, most people have different fabric inventory too.
Yep. I love it. It's very, very much up my alley of a rising tide lifts all boats, and
Exactly.
I love that. Who is the marketing genius behind this? Like, who came up with this?
With Whatnot?
Yeah. And I'm assuming they have a marketing team or a creative team that's like, oh, we should try this. We should add this,
So it's really, a lot of that is built into our product, and we really operate under you hear this in business a lot, like what do users want, and listen to users, get in the mind of users. One thing that's really unique and cool about working at Whatnot is that there is a huge emphasis on dog fooding the product. That's, if you're familiar with the term dog fooding, it's kind of like an old tech term of you have to eat your own dog food. And I think it came from Purina and, back in the day, sort of like this idea of you really have to be using your product and empathizing with the users. So everyone at Whatnot is in the app all the time, going to shows and hosting shows. I was actually nervous about this when I started because I hate being videotaped. And I was like, oh, live streaming, like that sounds really scary, but like also interesting because like clearly I'm joining the company. But when I started doing it, I was like, oh, wow, I actually really like this. It's fun and it's interactive and it's like about as scary as a Zoom call. So, because it's live, it's not, I think, when you post stuff to Instagram, there's like, it's going to live forever. It feels high pressure. It has to be perfect. This does not have to be perfect. Now, obviously you want it to be good. Definitely, having higher quality listings and, having a good camera setup, like all of that is helpful and, will definitely make people more effective, but it's not at all required. And so I think like making it like, it's not scary is sort of the thing that I always like to remind people. Just try it. And like, it's actually really an awesome experience.
So I have so many questions. So first of all, I meant to ask this a while back and I just remembered. So QVC, when you're like, it's Stitch meets Etsy, is that right?
I said Twitch, but there's like 10 different ways you can say that because we're, we're so unique that we're like a combination of any one of 15 different things that exist, but not, not exactly like anything.
Which is perfect. So when I bring up QVC, what does Whatnot think about that? Is it like, oh no, we're not that? Or is it like, actually, yeah, you could kind of relate it to QVC?
So I think there's something to be said for the fact that QVC has been as successful as it is for so long. Clearly, people want to buy from people that are, selling to them via video in their homes. Like there's clearly something there. And I think we're kind of like the next generation of that. Like, whereas QVC is, more produced, it's more, it's like in a studio.
Right.
And I think we are democratizing it in a way of really anyone can be their own, can host their own show and sell. And you don't need to, apply and go to the studio to do it.
Which I love. I love that. Like, you want to do it, you can, So, but okay, you did mention you have standards of quality. So who is the judge of that? Like, how do you know if this is a good quality thing? Because you said it doesn't necessarily matter if you have a large audience.
So we're not I would say like we're not the quality police. I think, the market will decide. And I think,
if it sells well, we'll do it again, or like, tell me more.
I think, yeah. So, I mean, as a seller, you're in control of your channel and your content. But also, you're a business person. And so what we tend to see is that if one person does something and it works really well, within a few days, it permeates through the system because everyone's paying attention to what's going on. And I think similarly, if someone does something and it doesn't work, you're not going to see a lot of it because clearly, it wasn't an effective strategy.
Okay. So I think I'm realizing more of what I don't understand about Whatnot. So it sounds like on the platform, and you mentioned this, there's the 2 ways to sell. And so anyone can go and sell on platform A. And then there's the featured people. And so you're watching who's doing well on platform A, and then they're invited to come and do option B, which is...
No, so it's one platform, but we do we'll have events that we are more curated. So, for example, we may have a content creator from YouTube that is coming on to do a tutorial. And as part of that, whatever the topic of that tutorial is, we'll find other sellers that are doing similar things and create what we call what gets called a raid train. So, the very popular content creator brings in their audience from outside and we say, oh, welcome to the platform. Here's the content you came in for. But, oh, by the way, they have 5 more sellers like this one afterwards. And so getting pulled into those featured events tends to be, A, is it relevant? And B, are you doing things that we know work? And it's not even really a measure of quality. It's a measure of effectiveness. If you upload photos, there is a much more likely chance that you will sell your items. And yes, it's
tell us more. What else works? Tell us all the tricks of the trade.
Yes. No, I mean, of course, the marketplace evolves. We're always adding new features. So things will change over time. Actually, this is actually very relevant, but even just yesterday, we released a feature where sellers can get tipped. And that's cool. Really exciting for people. It's something our users have been asking for ages. And I think it's extremely relevant in this industry because people, are craving tutorials. And I think, makers, your teachers, want to make sure want to be compensated for that, as they should be. You're giving something away. And I think are allowing our users to show that they are valuing the content. And people have sort of been doing it in unofficial ways. People may bid up the price of an item as a thank you to a seller. So it's kind of like an unofficial tip, like I'm just going to pay you more for this item. But now we've created that as an official feature.
So I'm really intrigued. Fun. Yeah, let's say there's someone who's been on YouTube, or no, let's even go back further. There's someone who's thinking I should start a YouTube channel. Could this be a different platform? Like if they create a tutorial, would it live there forever?
It does. We have a feature right now called Video on Demand, where essentially you can opt into having your live streams recorded, and then people can go watch them. I would say it works best if you're doing something where you're selling like a kit or something. Maybe you're doing a demo and there's also an associated kit with it. Because that way you can say, oh, I'm going to show you the product. I'm going to show you how it works. And by the way, if you buy it, you can come back and watch me, rewatch this after. Because the thing that really sets us apart from the other video platforms is that commerce is fully integrated. A buyer has a profile. They enter their credit card one time. They enter their address one time, maybe twice if they're sending a gift. But it's so easy. You can buy literally by moving your thumb half an inch across the screen.
Okay, I love that.
It used to just be like you literally touched a button and it was almost too easy to buy. So we made it slightly harder
wait a
by
minute.
making it a swipe. We're like, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, undo. Oh, that's funny. So, okay, and then you had mentioned something about education, which makes me wonder, when someone's selling, can they sell, you mentioned a PDF, can they sell paper, physical products? Can they sell, does it have to be a product that is shippable or deliverable, or can it be join me for this course, you know?
Yeah, so I would say you can pretty much sell anything. And then there's what you can do, and then there's what's like productized and optimized. So PDFs as a great example, and we have this in beta right now. So right now you can sell a PDF, and it will, but it won't automatically send to the user. So there's just like a little bit more work involved. But that said, hopefully by the time, if anyone's listening to this in a few months, this product will actually exist, because we are a tech company and we're constantly, investing in new features. Similarly with like a course, like you could sell tickets to a course. We just won't automatically fulfill it in that way. Gotcha. But it's definitely doable. If you think about kind of like what's required to sell things, it's payment processing and, for physical goods shipping, and that's all built in. And then as we get into different like variations of products, we will be able to offer other ways to sell too. We do have a feature we're called a private stream. So we had actually a woman by the name of So Becca. Well, her name is actually just Becca, but she goes by So Becca on YouTube, and she has a membership program. And she was doing a fabric sale, and she was like, well, I really want to give my members first dibs. So she hosted, before she did her, public sale for everyone, she hosted a private stream just for the members. And it was like a really small, a small audience. I think she had like 40 people in the stream. Half of them made purchases. And so really high, like incredibly high conversion. They had a blast. They all knew each other. They were in the chat, just having like a great time. And like that is available as a feature that's built in.
So for that, do you send like a private link invitation to certain people? Okay.
Exactly.
My mind is going behind the scenes. You cannot tell how much is going through my brain right now of like, oh my gosh, I'm very excited about this platform because it offers so much potential for sellers, like it's very exciting.
I think it's a really exciting place to build a business, not only because of the features, but also just because of the connection that you can make with your customers.
Yeah. And it's doing some marketing for us. So like I can bring my audience, but you're also going to bring me some new people, which is very valuable.
Yeah. I mean, if everyone brings even just 5 people, and like 5 people is not that many. If everyone brings their mom, like that alone would be a massive community. Everyone just brought their mom.
I'm very excited about this potential. So I am curious if I go on and I don't know, sell a PDF or a quilt pattern, do I then get the email addresses of the people? For me, that's very valuable, or do I, or not?
So normally no, because they haven't necessarily, like they haven't opted into like marketing from people. I think it's an interesting question because it's something that like I can see that being obviously very high value. To what I would say is we do have like a lot of people will say like, hey, here I am on Whatnot, come follow me on Instagram.
Yep.
Sign up for my newsletter. And so I've definitely, if I look at like who is following some of the sellers who like I see people whose names I recognize just because I know them from the platform. And so there's definitely a lot of people wanting to connect with each other, not just on Whatnot, although obviously, there's a lot of great ways to connect on Whatnot as well.
So for someone who is selling, obviously this is a business for you guys as well. So what kind of profit margin, and for my listeners, I just want to point out, it's still worth it. Well, depending on what the profit margin is. If it's like 100%, obviously not worth it, but
it is not.
Yeah. So yeah, what's the profit margin that you guys keep?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we think it's a commission. So we're a marketplace. We're not a retailer. So we are not buying your patterns and reselling them on your behalf, at a markup. You are the seller, you are the merchant, you set the prices, and you based on kind of what you want your margin to be. And then we have a what I believe to be a very competitive commission. It's, we don't talk publicly about exactly what that number is, but I will say it's very competitive in the industry and relative to other marketplaces. And then we also have payment processing, which, you can't really avoid. And it's the small price to pay for being able to have buyers check out with the swipe of a finger.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks to credit cards.
I know. Right. Which, side note, I did have someone send me an invoice the other day, and I went to go pay it, and they had me pay the difference of that fee. And I was both appalled and like, wait a minute, I can do that? I can make other people pay that?
I think PayPal lets you do that.
I mean,
and I think, we're a
how
marketplace, so everyone sets, like, as the seller, you set your prices. And like, if you want to factor in the payment processing by marking your prices up by,
right. Yeah.
I think it's like 3%, whatever that number is, then like that, you should do that. And that's same with shipping. Our shipping is fully built into the system. So we essentially auto populate like what the cost of shipping will be. We have extremely competitive rates with our friends at the U.S. Postal Service. And the buyer, the default is that the buyer pays it, and then it gets, if you buy multiple things from a seller over a live, like the shipping is all bundled together, encouraging people to buy more things from each person.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're introducing new features that will allow the seller to kind of, if they'd prefer to offer free shipping and, charge higher, make up for it with their margin in other ways, like that is going to be available to them soon.
So if you do the shipping, like I'm assuming then how this would look technically, I would tell you how much something weighs and what the box measurements would be. And then you create a shipping label and email it to the seller and they print it. Is that right?
It's on our platform. So you would just go in and generate, and it's really just based on USPS cares about weight. And then they have, what's really cool, and especially in, fabric, if anyone is selling fabric, flat rate boxes are going to be coming soon.
Oh, nice.
And you can put a lot of heavy fabric in a flat rate box.
Yes, you gotta, we all know people who ship fabric, you are like fitting everything in there and just like squeezing it and taping it. And so yes, we do know that. So the profit margins, then I'm assuming that's like individual basis. You talk about, it might be a different percentage based on different things, or.
So we have like a standard commission. So it's competitive. And then I would say, like, in terms of what like the seller's margin is based on, what are your costs and what are what are you charging? And I think, as if you're selling digital patterns, high margin, of course, once you make back the time you spent creating the pattern.
All the things that go into it, then it's just net profit. So I love that. So then I'm curious, for myself included, since I am going to be going live with Liza Taylor in June, which I am curious if you can share more about that event in a minute. But what does this look like? Is it just going to be me with my camera, whether that's my phone or my computer, and I'm going to be, what kind of equipment do I need to go live?
Yeah. So I always say, unless you've been actively doing, live streaming or video content on other platforms that start, and like you have another setup that works and you really like, you can just start with your phone.
Okay.
And that's totally fine. I stream from my phone. I think we have, like when we bring on YouTubers, they always have like these really sophisticated setups, and I'm like very impressed by it. Like their head is in the corner and they're showing multiple screens. It's great. That is available to you if you, are familiar with those platforms. We do have integrations with OBS and things that, I didn't even know about.
I know, I'm like, OBS. I'm envious in the best way of all of that stuff. I wish I could snap my fingers and like, oh, I have that,
But you really don't need it because most people are watching on their phones. And so vertical, camera from your phone is actually perfect. Good lighting, obviously, is helpful. I got a ring light off of Amazon for $15. And, I think also just, especially depending on like if you're selling something, I think we all know, like in the handmade world, like you want to be able to really show off the goods.
Yeah.
So you want to have good lighting. You want to be able to kind of get close to the camera. I personally love watching a split screen because I like to see the person and also the product. But that's like, again, very easy to do.
How do you need to have two phones, or how does one do that? I feel very naive that I'm asking this, but there we are.
I don't
does one do
I don't
that?
want to misspeak and say exactly, because we have like a detailed FAQ that will
Oh,
explain
okay,
this
perfect.
much better than I can. But yeah, for a split screen, I think you can do front and back actually, so you don't even need two phones. You just need to be set up in like an optimal way so that you have things on the front and the back.
I feel so like out of my league right now. Why do I feel so uncomfortable?
But you don't
Like,
have to be. You don't
really?
have to be. Like a phone is like what you're doing right now. A phone, a computer is totally sufficient.
Okay.
And that's sort of what I was saying before. Is it's because it's live. It doesn't need to be produced.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be scary or And I think the more we always say, like, do it for when we onboard a new seller. We always encourage them to kind of give it a few months. Try it out, see what works for you. The same thing isn't going to work for everyone that works for one person. And, that's like also kind of what makes it special, is that everyone's bringing something unique and different to the platform, which is why people keep coming back.
I love it. So is it unlimited? Anyone who wants can go and open up a profile and start selling on Whatnot.
So you do need to apply to go live. So that everyone can make an account. Everyone can and should make an account. I think
And
you
bye,
will
bye,
have
bye.
you'll have a link where you'll be able to give your audience some money to spend in the app as well.
Ooh, fun! Yay!
So everyone should definitely do that. And also, even if you're planning to sell, I think coming in and just seeing the app and like getting to know the existing sellers is a great way to get started. And then we have an application process, but we also have a referral program. So you will have a seller referral link, and anyone who uses your link will kind of go to the top of the pile from an application perspective, because we love referrals. Referrals are, somebody has recommended that you would be good to the platform. And so we're pretty quick at reviewing applications. It takes 1 to 2 days. And then we have an onboarding process, which is, me or one of my colleagues explaining how everything works, making sure you feel confident and ready to go. And then once that happens, you can go live as often as you want. And there's no cost to go live. We only make money when you sell items. So we're mutually incentivized to grow your sales.
Is it weird when you talk about like when you refer someone, it goes to the top of the list? It instantly makes me feel like I need to be very particular with who I refer, because I don't want to tarnish my name so that you're like, oh, that's from Elizabeth. Hers aren't that good.
No. And I think also, no, I would don't feel like that. You can. I think anyone who. I think the other thing, like, we're a new platform. We don't know what's going to work, and so the best sellers are not the ones who necessarily had the best applications.
Okay.
I would say the best sellers are the ones who come in and are really excited to, spend time on the platform and invest in building their business. We had a seller come to talk to our team a few weeks ago, and she's been on the platform I think about a year, and she's has thousands of followers, and she was like, oh, I applied 3 times.
Really?
Somehow she fell through the cracks, and now she's she's a great seller. She's an advocate for the platform. She's really popular, and
Can you share who it is? Now I'm like, I gotta go check this person out.
I think her name is Moms and Crumbs. She sells in the women's fashion category.
Like she sells her own things, or she's reselling, or
she's reselling. So there's a big part of the app around fashion resale.
I just want to go shopping so bad right now. Everything you mentioned, I'm like,
Please.
I want to buy it.
Yeah, it's really like fun, the things you can buy. And I'm actually you won't be able to see this, but I'm wearing a necklace that I bought on Whatnot right now. And I've gotten really into handmade jewelry.
I like it.
I love that I can, bring that to work and kind of showcase, support the community and the amazing makers in the community, but also, I get so many compliments when I wear the earrings that I bought and whatnot, and, being able to kind of go into that person's stream and tell her that, I think it's sort of like going to a craft fair, except that you can find the person again. If I bought earrings at a craft fair, I may get a ton of compliments, and, they're not going to be at the same craft fair next week necessarily.
This is such a good point, because I've gone to those craft fairs and some of those people I really connect with in their booth, and then they're gone. And I'm like, well, that was cool. But this, it's like you have a relationship and you can see them again and again.
Yeah. And I can, now whenever she goes live, I want to go say hi and, see what she has that's new. And, support her, and kind of, she knows, we now know each other.
And I don't have to travel in person to this. Oh, now.
Well, that's the other thing. It's very easy to do it. I mean, it's. I think we went to QuiltCon a few months back, and I was sort of feeling like my vision for the quilting and sewing part of the app is that it feels like QuiltCon all the time. Just like
so cool
people that are excited about the craft, have a lot in common. Maybe, interested in, maybe spending some money, or even just seeing kind of what's available, what's out there. And, every booth had something different. And it just like that exciting kind of like the energy of that, really bringing people together. That's what Whatnot feels like when it really starts to take off in a community.
Okay, so now that's got me thinking, and I'm curious if you can tell me, when I'm thinking of QuiltCon, there are certain booths that draw me in just visually. Are there certain people when they go live that they have an amazing backdrop and that does better? Like, do their sales do better?
So a lot of people do. I always love, quilting. I always like a nice quilt hanging behind you. I think actually my one seller, I'll just give a shout out to. Her name is Quarter Life Leap, Caitlin, and she's really into rainbows, and so she's often standing in front of her stash.
Cool.
And it's like beautifully color coordinated.
Yeah.
And so I love to see that. Yeah. And it's just, honestly, they're like most of the really like the good fabric sellers just have beautiful backdrops because they're streaming from their craft room, and it looks beautiful because they want to surround themselves with beautiful things.
That's
we do
branding,
have, so
right?
in the app, you don't necessarily, like if you go to the homepage and you sort of see what's happening, what's live, you see what we call a trailer photo. And so everyone can upload a photo to highlight their sale. And so people get really creative with Canva, putting up a cool picture of what you have to sell, a little text on it so people have an idea of what you have going on. And then you can also upload a video.
Cool.
Before your sale starts, people can click into and see the video, see what you have like on offer, and get excited about the sale. And then once the show is live, as you're scrolling in the app, you can actually see like a little, like it will essentially autoplay in the feed. So you can see without even clicking into it what's happening in the sale and decide if you want to click in.
Man, my mind is going with so many ideas right now. So this is very exciting for me. And how long, when somebody goes live, how long does that last? And is it up for like, I just want to be on for 10 minutes, or you have a 45-minute slot type of a thing?
It's not slots, because it's really, we do like when we do an event, when we do a train, we'll like have people sign up for slots, just because then we can ensure that, the train keeps moving. But if someone is, just picking their own schedule, then they are, you can go live for whenever you want for however long you want. I always like to tell this story because I think it's funny. I did not encourage everyone to do this, but we had one guy who had so much fabric to sell that he was like, I'm going to do a 12-hour fabric show. And he literally was live for 12 hours.
Oh, tell me he was like, I'm eating something now, or like, I need to go to the bathroom. Like, what did he do?
I assume he took bathroom breaks. Obviously didn't watch all 12 hours. But it was called the 12-hour fabric show. And like he did, he made a lot of money in 12 hours. It was a big sale.
So cool.
I would say
Yeah.
not like, I do not encourage everyone to do that, but I do think,
Right.
obviously that's one extreme. And then you have, people who are, I'm just going to pop up and, go live, say hi to people. If you go out in the morning, there's always a lot of people who are not necessarily even doing sales. They're doing like just chat with me, like sit and have coffee with me, because it's a community. It's, people want to be with their community.
Yeah. So do you get a notification? Is there an app for Whatnot?
Yes, we
And
are.
do
an
you
app.
get notifications like so-and-so is on right now, or so-and-so's
Yeah,
coming on tomorrow?
so when you so basically the way it works is you download, you tell us what you're interested in, maybe you check out a few shows, and then you'll start to get notifications based on your viewing history, so like occasional notifications that we, think might be relevant to you. And then you'll also get notifications based on sellers you follow. So if, let's say you went live, you offered a giveaway. If people had to follow you to enter the giveaway, they're now your followers, and you go live. And I think they just changed exactly how this works, but most of the time, you go live. I see apps like notifications on my app all the time, and it's like, Quilters Candy is live right now with XYZ show. And then I'm like, oh, actually I do want to see that. I wasn't planning on opening the app, but
Right.
guess I'll just check that out.
And does it send an email like Quilters Candy will go live tomorrow, or I don't know, letting people know if they're following somebody that something's
Not
coming?
automatically. We do like curated marketing emails, and kind of depending on the category, like what the cadence is, and those will generally go out to people that have watched in the category or bought in the category or have said they like that seller, and all of that is because it's curated. It's not automatic. Like there's not like necessarily specific logic to that. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of get the word out. We also have an Instagram handle, where we'll shout out people that are going live.
So right now it's dependent on our end, telling our people like, hey, come and check out, which then incentivizes, let's say, me to go and release something brand new or do a flash sale, something you can't get anywhere else, so that they go and check it out.
Yes. I think initially getting people from outside, it's always good to give people a reason to tune in.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for any content that is out there on the internet. You want to make it compelling. Definitely, people love an exclusive. I would love to see a world where the place that you go when you are releasing your new quilt pattern is Whatnot.
Yep.
Because, Instagram is great for showing finished products and making beautiful pictures.
It's not great for sales. Let's be honest.
It's not great for selling. And listen, I love Instagram. We have an Instagram handle too. I think it's a beautiful place, especially if you're following a lot of the people that we follow. But it's not optimized for selling. And the great thing is, and it's not as interactive.
So, you're right.
If you have a pattern sale, a pattern release coming up, like we actually had a woman named Claudia Porter. She does patterns for Island Batik. She did a exclusive pattern release only on Whatnot, and leading up to it, she, instead of posting pictures of the actual pattern, she posted teasers. And then the day of, she changed the photo into what the actual pattern was.
This is so fun, so intriguing. And it also highly benefits the community. Like, I am more benefited by bringing my friends on and having their audience come onto Whatnot, so that your people are going to be seeing that I'm selling something. So it really is that rising tide, lifts all boats.
Yeah.
We want more people on here.
What's really cool is that something that doesn't really exist on, other platforms is the idea that you really can kind of curate a channel if you want. Like if you said, what, let's say Wednesdays are, pattern release Wednesdays, we would think of a much better name.
Right.
Much better name than that. But let's just say, you had 5 people and you guys could plan a train where, everyone goes from one to the next to see all the different things that are available, from, a community of sellers. And we see sellers doing this all the time organically. A few weeks ago, there was an event halfway to Halloween. And it was a bunch of people, crafters from all different mediums selling Halloween themed crafts in May, halfway. And it was hugely successful. And I don't know that I would have known that it was going to be successful, but they're the community and they know it best.
Well, and speaking again to the quilt pattern launch on Instagram, even if you have a reel, it's stale, like here I'm able to, anytime you're able to interact and engage and show something, your sales will be better. Because even think as a customer, if someone's showing you a photo of a product, you're like, but if you can see it and like I don't know, it's just a better sale.
And conversion as a result is very high. Because not only just, better view of the product, able to ask questions. Also, I think just like you're literally talking to a person. They can see, they see you join the room. They know you're there. And I think, just wanting to kind of support people who or who you have interacted with is really special and meaningful.
So could a person, I'm trying to think how this would work, because I do have some courses and a membership. Can you sell those kinds of things? And if so, do you then take a percentage of that initial sale or an ongoing if it's like a membership?
So we don't currently have like a subscription product. So like the idea of a membership being something that is charged on a regular basis. I know it's something that people have asked for, and I know that it's something that's very relevant in this community. And, this is not the only community that it's relevant in. And I think, the way we think about our product roadmap is we listen to users and we build what is relevant to them. So definitely something that is on our minds, I guess, as we think about a future roadmap. Doesn't exist today. I think in terms of courses, I said this earlier, but you can sell, you can essentially sell kind of like a ticket to get access to the course.
Okay. Yeah. My brain, I need to go process all the ideas, but I did want to talk a little bit. So as I mentioned, Liza Taylor and I will be coming on, I guess the term is a train. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, we're calling that, so the upcoming event, we're calling it a shop hop, although it's really for, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be like a brick and mortar shop necessarily to participate. But the idea being it's a 3-night event with trains on each night, mingled with, some exclusive content, some celebrity guests, like yourself. And
that's very flattering.
some shops that are, everyone's going to kind of have different products available. And this is an event, we're planning this specific event for the first week in June, but we do this literally every week. We have a different kind of an event with a different theme, sort of based on what the community is asking for and, what kinds of things, really just even ideas that sellers have on their own.
That's cool. So I know I'm selling a brand new pattern, and then Liza's going to be selling fabric kits to make, that pattern. Can you share who some of the other guests are or what other things will be happening during the shop hop?
Yeah, it's not final yet, so we're still working on the exact lineup. But I'll shout out a few of our sellers that have signed up already. So there's a woman in Wisconsin called Barn Door Quilts. I think the place where the quilt shop is located is Door County, so that's why it's called Barn Door. She's been with us actually since the beginning of the quilting category, and so very comfortable on the platform, really excited to kind of show off. She actually just moved into a new shop, so she'll be showing that off. And then we have some new sellers as well. A woman actually in Paducah,
cool.
A Paducah relocator. Her store is called Muppin.com and Muppin Sewing Emporium. And she went to Paducah and loved it so much she decided to move there.
I've never been. That's it's on my bucket list, so I need to go.
Well, I'm sure she would be happy to show you around.
Yes. Okay, so now I'm curious.
If you visit.
Which I will.
So those are just 2 examples. It's going to be 12. I think we're planning for 12 shops to participate.
So I'm putting you on the spot here again. Are you still looking for some? And if so, can I recommend some people? Not that you need to go with it, but people that it'd be fun
Yes,
to like
love
go for.
recommendations. And I think,
Okay.
like I said, referrals, we are always looking for, I think as a marketplace, if I was a retailer, I could, curate everything myself and I would be the one doing all the selling and a very different kinds of platform. As a marketplace, we are nothing without awesome sellers that we have.
Okay. Because I'm incentivized to have other people who have a strong presence because I want mine to go well. So I want other people who also are going to, bring a lot to the table. So we'll chat
Yes.
afterwards and I'll share some
Yes. Love your
recommendations.
recommendations.
Awesome.
I'm actually talking later this week. I won't put her on the spot by saying her name, but I'm talking to somebody, a past podcast guest, trying to get her on the show.
Who was on my podcast?
Who was on your podcast?
Oh, okay. Now I'm intrigued. At some point, you'll have to be like, oh, by the way, this is who it was.
I'll tell you, I just don't want to blow her up on the podcast.
Okay. She's like, no, blow me up. Okay. So you had mentioned a little teaser, but tell me more as we're wrapping up here. For the listeners, they can get money to spend and open an account. How do they access this?
Yes. So there will be a link, I assume, in the show notes, which will be Elizabeth's unique link where she's gifting you $15 to spend on the platform if you sign up using that link. And you can spend that with anyone.
Cool.
I think once you've made your first purchase, you'll realize how fun and easy it is, and then maybe you'll apply to sell.
So to get that, you will go to quilterscandy.com/109 for episode 109. And yeah, Carly, thank you so much for being here. If people have questions or they want to apply anything, should they contact you? What's the best thing to do?
Yeah, so I probably the best, first of all, sign up for the app. I have a profile in the app, whatnot_handcrafted is the official Arts and Handmade account. So that's always a good place to go. We have the same handle on Instagram, whatnot_handcrafted. So you can always message us there. We also have a link tree with a fast track form for your application. So if you find us there and you submit that, I will get an email notifying me that you want to talk and I will reach out.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. This was way too fun and exciting for me in the best way. I loved it. So thank you.
Me too. I'm really excited. I think, just seeing like the ideas that you coming to the table with, the best sellers on Whatnot are the ones that are excited to be here.
Awesome.
Carly, thank you so much for coming and being a guest on the Craft to Career podcast. I hope your minds were blown just as much as mine. Like, when Instagram first came out, do you remember those times where these things, the first time you heard about Facebook, I still remember it was 2001 and I was in college and I joined this Facebook thing. You had to have like a college email. And then a few years later, it kind of blew up. I was like, oh, I have an account for that. Huh. Okay. And Instagram, I remember my sister-in-law, hey, there's this cool new app. This is that thing and that time where I feel like it's going to be, oh my gosh, I remember when I first heard about this, or Etsy or whatever it might be. So Whatnot, go check it out. In the show notes, there is a link for you to join Whatnot. And when you use that link that is in the show notes, so it's quilterscandy.com/109, you will also get free money to go and spend in Whatnot. You can create an account and then you can go shopping. And then you can also apply to be a seller on Whatnot. I'll also be sharing with my audience when exactly I do go live with Liza, which I believe is going to be June 7th at 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can come and watch and just see what that looks like. I mean, I'm kind of excited to see what that's going to look like for me as well. But we're going to be going live and selling, and you can come and just check it out and then hopefully try it out yourself. So again, Carly, thank you for sharing with us about this really cool new platform. I cannot wait for you, my listeners, to try it out. And next Friday, I'll be back with a brand new episode on the Craft to Career podcast. I can't wait to share. Until then, have a wonderful week.